Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth with 217 Creations, and today I'm going to show you how I ink my die cuts to give them more depth and dimension on my cards, pages, and altered items. The first method I'm going to show you that is my favorite, and this is using these wonderful little tools called Fantastix, and they are fantastic. Once you start using this method, you will love it. They come in either a brush tip, which is this real fine like pencil tip, or a bullet. I only use the bullet if I'm doing a large die cut that doesn't have any points inside of it. Otherwise, I almost always use the brush tips. Now, my favorite ink for doing distressing and altered items is, of course, Tim Holtz Distress Ink. If any of you follow my blog, you know how much I love Tim Holtz products. But Distress Ink is one of my favorites. I like that it's not too wet, has a good consistency, and it doesn't stay wet very long. It dries fairly quickly, so it's wonderful for inking. My other favorite ink that I love to use, and a lot of, is from Colorbox, and this is Chestnut Roan. And I know they sell these in little pads too. My archivers just never gets the little ones in. So I finally just broke down and bought a large one at Hobby Lobby when they had their stamp sale. So the way this works is I take all my Fantastix, and before I start using them, I label them. You're not going to be able to see it on the video. But on the video, I wish you could see it. I label them with what ink they are. Then that way I don't have to keep rebuying them. So I'm going to start with the Colorbox Chestnut Roan. And I'm going to do this flower here from Pagoda. And one little trick on my die cuts that I do a lot of is lifting on these score marks, especially on flowers. They come with these score marks inside of them where they have the slits. And it took me a while to realize what I should do with those. Sometimes I ink them up, but most of the time I kind of fold and lift in those areas, and then all of a sudden I get this wonderful flower that just kind of pops up out of there. So that's one way to give your projects a little more dimension. I take my pen, I roll it on its side, and I just start inking. And different items I'll want to ink a little bit differently. If I want a little bit more onto the paper, I will just rotate my pen in a little bit more, and I'll start to get a little bit more ink on that side. But as you can see, these brush tips are fantastic for getting in. Really great product. I'm not sure what they were originally designed to do, but for this method of inking, I love them. And as you can see, it can go pretty quick once you get going. And I love that it's just really comfortable in the hand. And we're almost done here. And this just makes a huge difference. If you buy the die cuts with the View cardstock, you know how it has the white core. I hate the white core. I love their paper, but I really can't stand a white cored paper. So I will ink them with coordinating colors of ink, and the white core disappears, and you get this wonderful coverage. So you can see right away, it's going to be kind of hard in the video, but that's how I do it for inking my edges. It gives just the right amount of line. Here's another great little thing. You can kind of run it between slits, and you'll get great dimension that way too. Okay, so there's kind of a quick, easy way of how I do my edges. I'm going to kind of bring that up and let you kind of see it a little bit. But it just puts the perfect line right around the edge of the die cut. Okay, so that's one method. The other method that I like to use for inking is with my Tim Holtz inking tool from Inkessentials, and that's what this guy is. And they sell these, once again, at all the craft stores. I've seen them everywhere. And I buy these little foam applicators. For light colored projects, this is going to be my yucky inking thing so I don't ruin my nice mat. For light colored items, my favorite ink to use to not give off too much color is Antique Linen. And this again is from Tim Holtz Distress Ink. It adds just the right amount without overtaking the cut. So you can kind of see, I dab it in there, get it on there, I come from the side and just ink. This teacup is from Once Upon a Princess. But on things like clouds, fencing, things like that, wings of insects and animals, I absolutely love. Antique linen, and it adds just the right amount. It's very forgiving on light papers. I know it's gonna be kind of hard to see. I'll try and rotate that a little bit, but see, you can kind of see the dimension that it starts to create. And it's very forgiving, but you get a nice light edge on it. Another one of my favorite colors to ink with in this same method are for leaves. These leaves are from Wildcard. And I've got a lot of personal messages from people asking how I got my leaves to look so realistic on my Plankton cake box that I did. And the way I do this is with 3 different ink colors. The first one I'm going to start with is mustard seed. So I've got my mustard seed pad, and I just take the inker and I come through. When you're doing this method, you always want to start with the lightest color and build outward, because in nature things are usually lighter in the center and darker on the edges. And right away you can see the difference between these 2 leaves. So that's the first layer. The second layer I like to do is called crushed olive. And I just keep these in little baggies and switch them out. I'm kind of cheap when it comes to these things. So I take crushed olive, and once again just kind of repeat it, and this time I'm going to try and just stay closer to the edge and not so much on the inside. And you can kind of see it starting to build out. And then from there I like to use pine needles. Let me turn that for you. Pine needles. So I'm going to switch out my applicator again. And just going to come in on the edges. And just kind of start to blend that out. And then you can take this and kind of go right along the edge of the leaves. And there is a very realistic looking leaf. Look at the difference between the 2. Isn't that amazing? Just with a little bit of time. It doesn't take long to do this at all. So those give you some ideas of a couple different ways that I like to do some inking. There's lots of other methods and techniques out there. Tons of ink companies to work with. But those are my favorites. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And as always, I appreciate comments, followers, and subscribers. So thank you once again, and I hope you guys have a great day.